Welcome to a chilly Manhattan, Kansas. Oh yeah, it is cold today. It's 16 degrees currently, and it's going to go up to a high of like 21, and it's going to be windy. So this should be an interesting day of exploring. The sun is out, at least right now, but it'll be a challenge. But we're gonna explore a little bit here between Manhattan and Lawrence. Months ago, I did a video where I explored from Lawrence, Kansas to Manhattan, kind of KU to K-State, and the back roads to the north. And today I'm going to do the opposite, from K-State to KU on the back roads to the south. And I don't know if the roads are going to be great. They've had over a foot of snow up here about a week ago, and the main roads look good, but we'll see how the back roads look. And that was a lot of fun the last time we did this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what small towns are like, and especially in the middle of winter here in Kansas. So let's get heading south, and I'll show you a map of where we're potentially going to go. There's Manhattan, and I-70 is pretty much the road you take from Manhattan to Lawrence. You got to get off, obviously, I-70 to go a little bit north of Manhattan, but that's going to be our north and south dividing line, and we're going to try to get south of there as soon as we can. We could go straight 177, but there's really not much to see in terms of towns. So we're gonna go along the Kansas River to the south, and then, hit the little dots on the map there. Actually, we've been to one of those already that I'll tell you about when we get there. And then we're gonna go south down to Alma. And as we turn the page, you can see where we go down to Alma. That green line that I have highlighted, that was the Oregon Trail video I did a couple years ago. So we're not far from the Oregon Trail, but we're gonna be south today. So once we get down to Alma, at that point, we'll maybe go to Eskridge or maybe over to Dover. I'm not quite sure. We'll see how the roads are. And you can see right there, we're basically getting towards the south of Topeka. We're gonna be south of that, stay south of the city. And then Lawrence is way over here. So it'll be interesting to see what we find along the way. And I'm excited to get started. So let's head on down the road. Before we get to our first town, we're going to take a quick stop at Fremont Park here, just on the edge of Manhattan. Obviously, the roads in the parking lot were pretty snowy. You can see the Kansas River there, and then the other way, that is Manhattan. We're on the Native Stone Scenic Byway, and our first community is Zeandale, and they have a terrific mural here on the side of the fire station house. Kind of tells the story of the town. It was settled in 1855, and they have kind of detailed explanation of the history of the town and what the things on the mural are right here in the park, in the little town park. Post office started in 1857. Zeandale is a combination of Greek and English that means corn valley, and town grew slowly. The post office actually closed in 1868 and then reopened in 1884 with about 25 people. There's a church you'll see here in town that opened in 1896. By 1910, the population was up to 75, and then the post office closed for good in 1944. A couple of old buildings in the town, but mostly the church here is the main thing to stop and see, but there are some things to learn in the park. Our next dot on the map is Wabaunsee, and I actually did a video about this town already, so If you want to learn more about the history of this town, it's really cool. It's got a great story about the church here, and there's some other old buildings in town. So if you're interested in that, you can watch this ghost town video that I had previously done. Our first incorporated town of the day is Alma, as you can see on the sign. It's also called the City of Native Stone, which makes sense here on the Native Stone Scenic Byway. This is a really great little town of 802 currently population. It's the county seat of Wabaunsee County. It's got a couple possible sources for its name. There's an Alma, Germany, or there's actually a stream in the Ukraine called Alma, so it's named after one of those two things. There was a mill that was built here in around 1858, about a mile from the town. It's kind of the first signs of somewhat of a community. Post office came 1863. It actually became the county seat in 1866 before there were even any buildings built, which came the next year. There were only about 20 people living here at the time. And then in the early 1870s, it won another election for the county seat, and that seemed to help establish it in the area. A few hundred people came to live here. Then the railroad came through in 1887, and that's when the population really began to rise. Peaked at 1,125 in 1890, and since about 1920, the population has been the same. Interesting little historical marker here talking about the stone fences and the law in 1867. You can see the stone fence, an example of it right here. And I guess this was kind of a normal thing in this area because of how plentiful the stones were. And they have some information here about ranching in this area, how they do the controlled burns, and just some cool history of along this Native Stone Scenic Byway. Our next town is Eskridge, and it was laid out in 1868 and was named for Charles Eskridge, an Emporia journalist and politician. As you can see, a lot of great old historic buildings in this downtown area. Post office was opened in 1869, and it lost a narrow battle for the county seat to Alma in 1871, just lost by a few votes. The railroad came through in the 1880s, and it became an important shipping point for cattle and has been known as the gateway to the Flint Hills. It was incorporated in 1887, and population has been consistent through the years for the most part, peaked at 797 in 1910, but now it is down to its lowest total of 439. made it here to Eskridge, and we're getting over towards Topeka. We're gonna stay on 4. There's a couple dots up there, probably Keene and Dover. And then from there, I guess we'll have to figure out, maybe we'll go south over to Auburn. Some of the earliest settlers in Wabaunsee County settled about a mile east of here in 1856. This is called Keene, Kansas. It's a ghost town, and they have a nice informational billboard here in the, I guess you call it the center of town. But 1856, most people in this area were about a mile east in a place called Fremont City, and in 1872, the town was moved to this location. Post office closed in 1901, last store in 1970s, and the cemetery is about a mile east of the billboard, so this is probably where Fremont City was located. Dover, Kansas has a very interesting history and some historic buildings that are still here. It was started in 1856. That Sage Inn right there was built in 1878. So it was named after Dover, New Hampshire. Post office started in 1863. They had a couple of big cheese factories that produced some of the most cheese in the United States back in the day. It was one of the places you could ford the creek in the early days of traveling, and so people would stop here as they were trying to connect to the Oregon Trail. So the Sage Inn was a logical place for that. So very interesting place. Glad I was able to make a short stop in Dover. Auburn is our next town. It's very interesting history here. It was actually named Brownsville in 1856 after John Brown, who acquired land here. And it was changed because there was another Brownsville in Kansas, and it was changed in 1859 to Auburn, named after Auburn, New York. They aspired to be the capital of Kansas here, and the city grew fast in the 1850s. It was one of the largest in the entire state. Then when Topeka became the capital, the population dwindled dramatically down to about 100 for decades. And then not until about the 1970s did the population started coming back, and has come back strong with the population now up over 1,200 people. But yeah, not a lot of old historic buildings because at that time there wasn't much left of Auburn. Well, that is the end of our trip from Manhattan to Lawrence. We'll go down Mass Street here in Lawrence, and this is kind of the main, historic area with all the old buildings, and it's very busy. It's a very long street, and it's where all the college kids hang out late at night. In Manhattan, they have Aggieville, and in Lawrence here they have Mass Street. But what'd you think of that drive today? I thought it was pretty interesting. The Native Stone Scenic Byway was really awesome, and I thought that it was the highlight of the trip for me. Those couple towns that were there early on in the trip with all the stone downtown buildings were great, and found some cool little unincorporated communities, ghost towns, old schools, churches. And yeah, that was fun. There was a lot of places I didn't go to, so I could do this trip again and go on a whole different route between the two towns. And yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Hope you did too. And like always, next time I will see you down a back road. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of that video. And now that you're here, let me tell you a little bit about some of the extras that we have on the channel. One of the things you can do is you can become a member. There's 3 levels. There's the supporter level, there's the producer level, and the executive producer level. And all 3 levels have different perks, and as you are more supportive financially, there's more perks. We have extra videos every week and a lot of fun stuff going on in the member section. If you haven't done so, make sure you check out travelwithawiseguy.com. We've got lots of extra stuff on there, and one of the things is merchandise. You can get you Travel with a Wise Guy t-shirt. We have Death Go Round t-shirts. We have some coffee mugs, different things that are a lot of fun, and people seem to have enjoyed. Good quality there. Also on the website, you can do things like check out the Google map. I have a pin dropped in every place I've done videos about, then a link to the video so you can look at the map, and maybe there's somewhere where you live or somewhere you want to go. You can check out that map, and it seemed to be a very popular thing. You can sign up for my newsletter. I do that about every 3 weeks. It's totally free. And there's also all kinds of other links and tidbits in there, old videos, podcasts, just everything I could think of I throw on the website. So make sure you check out travelwithawiseguy.com. Thank you for everyone who has been supportive of this channel, and thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. And now for the reason you're probably here, the outtakes. East from there. Get this map situated. Why is it getting colder? It was 17 when we started. Zeandale, we got a Death Go Round, and we've got a monster over here too. And the Death Go Round doesn't get you, the monster will. Don't have as good a traction here. Oh, very wobbly. I like the purple, but it is so wobbly. Gonna have to give that a 6.5, mostly just for the color and the monster. It's back up to 16. Woo, getting balmy. Little small town USA, I love it. Think the pool's open today?